Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse and I am back for another hardware review video. And I know it's been a little while since I've done one of these, particularly another headphone review video, because yes, I have done a lot of these videos in the past. But unfortunately, my old trusty PX22s that I've been using for my computer, that was the Turtle Beach PX22 headset, that I've been using for the past, I don't know, probably 8 years or better, finally broke, and I had to find a new model of headset because I was not able to find at least a reasonable priced replacement for that headset, because they were back in the PS3 era days. And you can find them online, but they're way more expensive than they were when they were widely available. So, had to move on. We are looking at the Razer Kraken Ultimate headset. And I have mixed feelings on this. I like Razer products. I have a Razer mouse. I can't even remember the name of it. But it's actually, I really, really like the mouse. And I've had other Razer products in the past. And I did a bunch of research. I thought about getting one of those fancy headsets, the wireless ones and whatnot. But, I'm sitting in front of my computer, and these are primarily, I'm just using them exclusively with my computer. I don't want to worry about running out of battery life during a work Zoom meeting now that I'm working a lot more from home, when I'm doing a video, when I'm doing a stream, or just when I'm using my computer or playing a game in general. So, you know what? I thought, I want to find a good USB headset, because I figured that would probably be the way to go if I'm going to be using this with my desktop PC. And this was the one I kind of settled on. I was looking at one of the Razer ones. I can't remember what it was called, like the dark, I don't remember what exactly it was called. Similar price, but I went with the Kraken Ultimate. So, build quality is pretty decent overall, I gotta say. It feels fairly lightweight, like it's not super heavy. There is nice ear cup padding. It's kind of got a, well, I turned THX mode on by accident there. The ear pads are really cushy. They've kind of got like a memory foam type of deal in them. They've kind of got this mesh covering to them. I wouldn't call them pleather or anything like that. It's more of like a soft mesh to them. I find them pretty comfortable. On the headband, you've got more of a cloth, soft padding. It's not super thick, but I've worn these a lot, and I have never really noticed any sort of, discomfort, like, rubbing against the top of my head and being uncomfortable. I mean, the band itself on the top, you've kind of got the Razer etching into, it's like a soft, I don't even know what you would call it. It's not like a plasticky thing, but it's, I don't know. It's got a nice feel to it, though. What I do really like, though, is where the headphones connect to the band. A lot of times, these things feel really cheap. These things have got this nice, thick metal that you can slide both ear cups on right here. They don't feel like they're gonna break. They don't feel chintzy. Now you do have, I don't know if you can tell, let's see if I can get the angle right. There is a little wire here that kind of goes from the headband down into behind the ear cup there. So it seems reasonably solid though. And what I will say, the cable itself is this braided, or it's not just like a thin cord. It's a thicker, kind of got that like cloth outer coating, kind of makes it a little less prone to kinking up and everything like that. Getting tangled within itself if you unplug it, that kind of a thing. But like I said, comfort-wise, it's lightweight enough. The ear cups, my ears don't get hot after long periods of use. And believe me, I've been, gaming for several hours at a time in these things. There's been work days where I've literally been in Zoom meetings for 6 hours a day, and they've held up fine for that. As you can plainly see, aesthetically, it does have that sort of gamer look to it. You have the glowy Razer logo on both ear cups here, and you can customize when you connect it to your PC. If you get the Razer Synapse software, which I'll show you in a bit, you can customize the color of the logo and the little ring around it, which is kind of a nice touch. I know some people don't like the lighting that a lot of gamers' headsets do, but if it's not too like overpowering, or if it's not too crazy looking, like I think these, yes, they glow, but they still have a really nice look to them. They're kind of, they're kind of muted, other than the, they look really nice, and you can always turn the little lighting stuff off if you don't want them want it on when it's connected. So connections or buttons and things, like I said, this is a USB headset, and the interface is very, very simple. You've got a physical volume knob on your left ear cup, and it has little notches too, which I like. It's not a smooth thing, so you can kind of tell, like, oh, I'm going up 3 notches or whatever, but it's not, it's not too difficult to turn. It's just, you can just feel it there. And then above that, you have your THX button, where I don't know if you connect it to like a console. I haven't tried that. I've only really been using these with my PC. In order to make that work, you need the Razer Synapse software. It's a free download from the Razer website. But when you do that, you get a virtual kind of a 7.1 surround sound type of audio. And I've had mixed luck with that. Like, I'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing that you have on your left ear cup, you see this is glowy right now because apparently my mic is on. It has a microphone arm that you can extend or retract into the ear cup. So I like that. If you're not using it for a while, you can just shove the microphone back into the headset itself. I really like that design. And I like the fact that you know clearly when it's on, because you have the red indicator light telling you if it's on or off. The one thing that I don't like about the microphone, I kind of wish that it was a little bit designed differently. I wish that it had like a pop filter. I kind of wish, like my old Turtle Beach had a little foam covering that would really kind of help with some like the pop filter issues. And this will move into, that's really all there is to say about the physical aspects of this headset. It's comfortable. I don't have a problem with anything like that. The build quality is good. Let's move into how it sounds. What does the microphone sound like? And here's where I have the most mixed feelings of this headset. If you can get it to, if you can get the equalizer and everything set the way you like it, it can sound pretty darn good. I still almost prefer my Turtle Beach PX22s because they just sounded really good. And you definitely want to have the Razer Synapse software for your PC if you're going to connect it to your computer, because without it, it sounds flat. It sounds kind of like garbage. You definitely want, not only for the audio quality of your headset, but for your microphone settings. So you do get a decent amount of bass in it, but again, you really got to play with the EQ settings, I think, to get it dialed in the way you like it. I like mine. I know some people like their sound a little more flat because it's more true to life. It's a little more realistic. A lot of when I'm like playing a game or listening to movies or something, I like a little bit, not over exaggerated, but I like a little bit more, pow. I like a little bit more of that low end punchiness to my audio. It's just a little more fun for me. So, I don't need it like all bass and nothing else. I don't like that either. But I will say it does decent with the mids and the highs. Although, in a lot of ways, it depends on what kind of music or what kind of game I'm like. Some games and music sound great, but then there's some music where the mids and especially the highs kind of they're muddy. It's not like the bass is overpowering them per se, but it's like the mids and the highs are just not quite coming out as well, even if you crank up your EQ settings. And during some music, what I find is that, let's say you have a piece of the song, like a lot of times at the beginning of a song, the music will come in and it'll be like guitars or it'll be strings or, something that doesn't have a lot of beat or a lot of bass to it. And that sounds really good. But then when the regular drums kick in, usually, what'll happen is I notice that, like, if there's a common toom, 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 and there's a steady drum beat, especially the kick drum, like, I notice in some songs that it will, when those kick in, it's like during those parts of the song, you can almost kind of hear them taking over, and then like the higher end gets sort of muffled or muted, but then when the drums go away, then the upper half sort of cleans out a little bit, and I don't know why it does that. I don't know. It doesn't do it for all songs. It doesn't do it for all. I don't know if it's like, I've tried it with different genres of music. I've tried it with, like different like bit rates. I'm not sure exactly what causes it. But it's just like one of those oddities that if, maybe you won't even notice, but I do notice that from time to time. So the audio quality, it's not bad. I wish it were a little better, but again, for what I paid for them, they were like $60, I think, give or take. But they'll run you that, like, especially if you order them on Amazon or something like that. They're all right. And they're not, they're nowhere near bad enough to be like, oh, well, these are terrible. I'm throwing them in the garbage, or I'm giving them away or returning them. For what they are, they work. The microphone is okay. It's decent. However, I have some caveats to the microphone as well. The microphone, if you get it dialed in just right, your headset sounds pretty good. But God forbid if you bump it, if you, accidentally nudge it, maybe you move your head and the microphone arm nudges your shoulder or something, or you brush it with your hand. There really seems to be like a sweet spot where you have to have this microphone. If you don't have it in that sweet spot, you kind of hear, and trust me, I've played with the microphone settings. I've played with just countless types of recordings. I'm using OBS typically to record. I have tried all kinds of adjustments with the software. But honestly, it really comes down to that microphone sweet spot, I think. And for me, it seems to be you want to have it like actually a tiny bit like not really above your mouth, but kind of not as low as you might originally think it should be. But you have to play with that a little bit. If you're not in that sweet spot, what it does is, and you can kind of hear it in some of my other recent game videos, unfortunately, is like sometimes it'll sound good, but depending on like the type of word that I'm saying or my inflection or like just how I'm speaking in general, I try to, when I do a video, I try to talk pretty evenly. I'm not one of these people that yell all the time in their videos and act stupid or anything like that. But I try to be pretty even. But even then, I notice my voice will sound a little nasally, and it almost sounds a little more lo-fi than you would want it to be, than you'd want it to feel like. But it'll kind of cut in and out. Like, it'll sound really good for a few words, and then it'll kind of waver into being nasally, and then it'll be not so nasally, and then it'll be nasally again, and it just kind of goes in and out. And like I said, I think it's really that sweet spot that you have to find that for the microphone. And then as long as you keep it there, it's okay. And I wonder, again, if you had like a pop filter, I'm damn near wondering if I found, like if I went on Amazon or something, if I could find, and I don't know if it would really work. Like if I just shoved some sort of foam covering over this, if that would dampen it too badly and then it would sound worse that way, or if it would in fact help it. I don't know. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention about the microphone, you see how, like I said, it's been on. And the way that I like the way that you mute and unmute it. You just squeeze it a tiny bit. You don't have to do it hard, but it just goes boop, and then on, off. So it's really easy. I like that. I like that the mute/unmute is on the microphone itself and it's not somewhere else on the headset. So, I mean, there you go. Like I said, I know it sounds like I'm more down on the headset than I am. And the longer I've used it, I think the more I've kind of figured out a few of its quirks. I've found some EQ settings in the Synapse software. I've found like the sweet spot for the microphone. It's still not perfect. It's still more finicky, especially with the microphone, than I want it to be. But, I mean, I've been on Zoom calls and either just, they don't care or they haven't complained, about my mic quality or anything. If you want super, super high quality audio, I don't know if this is the best headset for that necessarily. But like I said, I mean, that's the one thing I really loved about my Turtle Beach is for a gaming headset, and even one for several years back, like that microphone was actually really good. Like it was always clear. I never had a problem with the way it sounded. And I was kind of just had that, I mean, like, well, we're, how many years later, this headset should have no problem with that. It's not like it's Bluetooth or anything. Solid, just wired headset, but it's got those issues. So that is kind of the headset itself. I do want to talk a little bit about, I have it up on my screen here, the Razer Synapse, I believe it's version 3.0 software, and I'm going to try to do this one-handed here. So we're just going to be looking at my screen here. And this is your software for, again, if you have other Razer peripherals. I've got my mouse right down there, and I can control the lighting on that if I wanted to. But for your microphone, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to, for myself, to make it easier to see, again, if you're watching this just as a hardware review, I am legally blind, I am visually impaired, so we're going to look at this with some Windows magnifier here. But we have different tabs across the top. So your sound is pretty much what you think it would be. You've got your volume, your on-off, you've got your Windows settings, you got stereo, you got your different audio modes. And I haven't really played with this feature much, but you can kind of customize like spatially the way you want it to be. That just sort of just confuses me, so I just leave it alone, because otherwise I figure I'll make it sound worse than usual. Let's see, mixer. This, again, you have a few different options here, especially if you turn on your your virtual kind of 7.1 type of thing. You see you got this little starry looking thing. So this is where your virtual sound type of stuff comes from. I've poked around with that a little bit, but again, I'm not really I don't mess with that too much, but it's something you may want to explore. Enhancements, you can do like a bass boost. There's a few different sliders here that you can play with. Nothing too big, but there are a couple of options here. The main two places where I've played with is under my EQ. So if I back up here, you have different presets, so that you've got like your music, your game, your standard, and then you have a custom. I've left mine on custom because I've played with mine a bit and I've kind of tweaked some of the frequencies, and for a lot of what I do, it seems to work a little bit better. You can start with your game and then, your whatever audio category you want, and then play with it a little bit and then, customize it. So I've played with that a little bit, and that has seemed to help some. The other thing that I want to show you is microphone. So there are a lot of different settings here. Of course, you can, adjust your volume, turn it on and off. There's a bunch of like sliders here that you can play with. The one thing I would say is microphone noise canceling. From my experience, definitely turn that on, because man, I turned it off once to see if that would help. Oh boy, talk about sounding like hot garbage. It seemed like, at least for me, with that off, like it picked up everything, and there's kind of almost like a little staticky background noise, almost like it was picking up my computer tower, which my computer tower is actually really quiet, and even if it did pick it up, it wouldn't sound like that. I mean, it just sounded bad. So you might want to check that. But you've got some other stuff here for like voice normalization, voice quality. And I've had mixed, sometimes I don't even really think I notice all that much difference with these on. I've tried them on and off, and I just don't know what I really like. And then if you want to hear, one thing that I like to do is your side tone or your mic monitoring. So that is when you have your headset on, you have your mic on. If you like to kind of hear yourself in your headset, I find that really helpful, just because that way I know that it's unmuted and I can kind of hear like if there's a major artifacting thing going on. I do like having that. And then of course your final tab here, mouse and magnifier, and holding my phone up to it. So you got your lighting, and you can change, let me just zoom out a bit here. So, you can change what your color is and whether you want it on or not. Like I said, I like mine to be blue. I'm a big fan of blue, so I'm like, hey, why not? The software is very intuitive to use. It's not hard. But again, if you're going to use it with your computer, I would definitely say you need this Razer Synapse software, because you're not going to be able to use your THX surround mode, and you are not going to be able to have some of the extra customization settings, and you're probably going to hate the way your headset sounds just without this software installed to kind of tweak everything. So you're definitely going to want that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my thoughts, my hardware review for the Razer Kraken Ultimate USB headset. Again, you can pick it up. I've seen it on Amazon for about $60, give or take. It kind of fluctuates here and there by a few bucks. It's not a bad headset. Is it my favorite headset? No. Do I wish that some of the inconsistencies were a little better, both with the audio and with the microphone? Yeah, I do. I mean, the comfort and the build quality seems fine. There's just some issues, like I said, just you really got to fine tune it to get the audio the way you want it, and then getting the mic the way you want it. And I should mention the one other issue that I did have one time, thankfully it's been fine since. Early on, when I was playing with the Synapse software, I would be changing between my different EQ modes, like going from standard to music to game to custom, and nothing would change. Like it would change the tabs, but nothing would happen. Or I would go to some other tab and like I would try to turn a setting on or off, or go to adjust a setting and there would be a grayed out setting or two that shouldn't be. And thankfully, it seemed like after I rebooted my computer and then I relaunched the Synapse software, everything seemed to be fine. But for that one little afternoon, I spent a little bit of time trying to figure out why the hell my Synapse software was not adjusting the settings as it appeared to be. So other than that, it's been fine. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it helpful. Give the video a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. So until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.